This anime deserves much more hype and praise than it gets, but unfortunately I don't see it ever receiving the amount it deserves. This anime had a rocky release, but it is ridiculously funny, has a solid cast of characters, and a pretty good story. The anime I am talking about is Isekai Ojisan. The second people hear the word isekai, they think of all the mediocre or completely weird and nonsensical plots that isekai tend to have. For example, In Another World with My Smartphone, which is horrible, or the upcoming anime about being reincarnated into a vending machine. Yes, I am going to watch that when it airs, by the way. People also think of all the various isekai with very similar plots, but with a small change here and there. Often done with a loser MC who becomes ridiculously overpowered in this new world and obtains a harem. The genre gets repetitive, but you could say very similar things about other genres as well. The change within Isekai Ojisan is that it's a reverse isekai. Ojisan wakes up from a 17-year-long coma with only one family member there to see him, his nephew Takafumi. During those 17 years in a coma, he spent time in a different magical world. Upon waking up from his coma, he realizes that he still has his power from this other world and does what anybody would do in that situation. Immediately show off his powers to people on the internet in the form of YouTube content, having people often reply to his real magic as fake, the exact response you would expect from YouTube comments. Isekai Ojisan, or Uncle from Another World's anime release was both a breath of fresh air and an absolute mess. So how is Isekai Ojisan a mess? It premiered during the summer of 2022 and did not finish until almost the very end of winter 2023. 8 months for 13 episodes. New episodes of Isekai Ojisan were released weekly until COVID struck the studio, producing it not once, not twice, but 3 separate occasions, pushing back the releases. The worst delay ended up being for the final episode, which took months before it was released. Having to wait several months for one singular episode, the conclusion of the season sucked. I'm extremely jealous of people who are able to watch the entire season now without the long waits that I and many others had to endure. What's unfortunate is that I saw tons of people posting about Isekai Ojisan online, as they do most often when an anime is airing. Slowly, I saw the popularity of the anime grow because people thought it was good, unique, and very funny. The various posts on social media build up hype for the show, influencing more people to watch it as the hype continues to grow. These delays kill that hype train. I think most shows can survive one delay. People are sympathetic and understanding for the most part. They are willing to wait for the show to resume airing. Problem is that Isekai Ojisan had multiple different delays that span across multiple different anime seasons. That kills any and all hype surrounding the show. People forget about it and move on, looking for other stuff to keep them entertained. Most people don't have the attention span or desire to keep up with anything that has constant problems and delays. Only the diehard fans would bother keeping up with something like that. So the story of Isekai Ojisan is an interesting one, and it should hook you in from the first episode. Most of the anime is spent with Ojisan showing flashbacks of what happened in the fantasy world of Grand Bahamel. He shows his nephew Takafumi and Sumika, a childhood friend of Takafumi, these flashbacks. They get to watch what Ojisan experiences in this new world. Both of them thoroughly enjoy watching the various stories, so much so that several times throughout the anime, they are seen begging him to show what happened. Upon being transported to this new world, Ojisan had a difficult time. Everybody thought he was an orc because of his ugliness, so people stayed away from him, oftentimes hating him just because of his looks, even though he would oftentimes save them from various monsters and disasters. Upon being isekai'd, he is captured and sold off for 3 bronze coins. He was not able to understand or communicate with them. Ojisan was granted a power of his choice from God, but unfortunately for him, he could not even understand God. He did, however, wish that he could communicate with others. Ojisan did not realize that he would get a very useful power. This power is given the name Wild Talker by Takafumi and Sumika and has multiple uses. He's finally able to translate dialogue so he can actually speak to and understand people in this new world. Not only that, Wild Talker allows him to speak to spirits and demons. By communicating with spirits residing within the world, he's able to borrow their power and use various types of magic. While in Grand Bahamel, he spends all of his time trying to figure out a way to return to his old world. He is the embodiment of...
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
Throughout the anime, Ojisan meets several people, mainly female love interests, along his travels. First, he finds a tsundere elf named, this word, but she tends to go by elf. The concept of a tsundere was unknown to Ojisan. He just always thought that she was stalking him or being a nuisance, when in fact she loves him. Next, he runs into a descendant of the Ice Clan and keeper of a legendary ice sword, Mabel. She's human, neat, and pretty lazy. The sword in her possession is said to be the only thing that can defeat the fire dragon, but Ojisan doesn't even need to use it to defeat the dragon. He does not follow the rules of this world. Ojisan does whatever he wants, usually showcasing his power. The final love interest he runs into is a holy mage and human hero, in quotes, Alicia. Credit was given to her for defeating a horde of monsters, but it was Ojisan who did it. She has 2 childhood friends who tag along with her, Edgar and Raiga. All 3 of these girls are powerful in their own right and fight for Ojisan's love, but he is unaware of their interest. He's extremely nice to all of them, usually seen giving them some type of gift. Elf, Mabel, and Alicia are 3 characters who love Ojisan, but add different things. Elf is the powerful tsundere, and my favorite of the 3. Mabel is a lazy NEET, but when push comes to shove, she can handle her own. Alicia is strong, but her title of hero adds a chip to her shoulder. When all 3 of these girls are around each other by the end of the season, it's a very interesting high-tension situation, which is made even worse by a massive monster that they have to fight. Since we are on the topic of love, enter Sumika, a childhood love interest of Takafumi. When she was young, she looked like a monster and was equally as ugly as Oji-san. Now she fights for Takafumi's affection. The anime is hilarious. Almost all the major characters in the show are very funny, with Oji-san being the funniest. You've got Takafumi, Oji-san's nephew, who says some hilarious things and knows how to get the most out of Oji-san's YouTube channel, as shown when he posted a video where Oji-san looked like Elf. He knew that people would be interested only in the scantily clad elf girl and not the video game, so he only posted camera footage, which the horny masses truly loved. Sumika adds tension between herself and Takafumi since she likes him. She picks up on stuff that neither of the guys can, stuff only girls can pick up on. Takafumi and Sumika have a pretty consistent despair face shown when watching the flashbacks. It's shown very often. It can be for a horrible thing happening to Oji-san, or something horrible he did or doesn't understand. In most cases, I was dying laughing whenever this face was shown. Oji-san himself is a weird and interesting character. Most of his beliefs and the way he acts is heavily influenced by Sega video games, oftentimes bringing up games such as Golden Axe, Guardian Heroes, Alien Soldier, and the Sonic franchise, to name a few. He grew up fixated on gaming, but he learns tons of great lessons from them. His knowledge of these games make up several comedy bits throughout the show. Whether it's a great quote or talking about past achievements, they are video game based. Now obviously characters from the other world such as Elf and Mabel don't understand the references, but Takafumi and Sumika do. Whenever they hear the quotes, it lessens their view of Oji-san a bit. Oji-san has to learn about how the original world changed. There's been tons of technological advances that leave him dumbfounded at times. YouTube wasn't around before his coma. It's like he was isekai twice. Once when he went into Grand Bahamel, and then another time going back into his own world. A lot has changed in 17 years. Isekai Ojisan is a dark anime. Imagine yourself being Oji-san, transported to a new world. Your life being worth only 3 bronze coins when a scouring pad is worth 120 bronze. Your life is worth a fraction of something that meager. He's seen throughout the show using a spell called Icarus Cura, a memory erasure spell. Oji-san uses it whenever something traumatic happens or for things he wants to forget. He tends to write down the moment he's erasing in case it is important. A nosebleed occurs when he remembers something that he erases, and one just so happens to occur when he remembers the low price he went for. It's demoralizing to know you're worth so little. Oji-san's an outsider, a loner, a monster. He's treated horribly, oftentimes being hunted by others. From town to town, village to village, he's constantly being tortured and hated by others. He has a negative view of himself since nobody really likes him. At times he doesn't think all of his friends he made along the way even like him. That's how low his self-confidence is. The entire time he's exploring the world trying to find a way to get back to his original world. He's desperate and tries just about anything to try to make that happen. Looking back through his memories, you can see that Oji-san misunderstood various situations he was in. You can see him grinning because his nephew and Sumika are in awe of how cool and powerful he is. They tell him that he didn't have it all bad like he originally thought. He had a group of friends who he enjoyed spending time with. Elf, Mabel, Alicia, and her crew. He still doesn't understand that the 3 girls like him, and that he was accidentally flirting with them. He just thought he was being nice. I know people are going to point back to the generalization I made about most isekais having an overpowered MC who builds a harem. Then I go on to say that Oji-san is overpowered and builds a harem, contradicting what I said about Isekai Oji-san being different compared to most isekai. To be fair, he has girls fall in love with him, but he never ends up with them, at least in the anime thus far, even though there are several funny, very weird and suggestive scenes with the various girls. Some of those include weird tickle fights, sleeping with Mabel and Elf in the same bed, and seeing Alicia naked at the hot springs. It is a show that is funny first, and the story is an added bonus. The last thing I want to talk about is the studio that made Isekai Ojisan, AtelierPontdarc, which up to this point has only done Isekai Ojisan and Ganbare Doki-chan, which are only 5-minute episodes. I really hope they get more projects in the future. Isekai Ojisan was a unique experience, it has a very unique art style and animation. There are some scenes within the show that are just gorgeous to watch. Between the art style and the animation, you could tell they worked extremely hard on it. I think I said this exact same thing in my Bocchi the Rock review. I like it when animation studios visibly care about the work they do, and you can see through that work that they enjoyed it. I'm not blaming them for the delays, and you can't either, especially since they are such a small company. It is very unfortunate that the delays happened. I 100% recommend watching Isekai Ojisan or Uncle from Another World, and I give it an 8.25 out of 10. It is on Netflix, by the way, so if you have Netflix, go check it out right now. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.